Hey, you guys. I'm here today, and I was hoping that we could have a chat about the fall equinox. I wanted to talk to you about what the fall equinox means to me, and I also wanted to share a few things that I like to do during this time of the year. And I'm not going to do any stones. I'm not going to do an incense, but I do have my handy dandy bell. And I'm simply just going to ring our bell, and I'm doing this just to cleanse our area of any negativity. And I had decided earlier that I was just going to try to make this video just as basic as possible. I just more or less wanted to sit here and just talk to you for a few minutes. And I wanted to share with you what, my views were on the fall equinox. I know a lot of people, when they think of this time of the year, they think of it's right before winter, and they start thinking that it's a depressing time of year, but it's really not. It's like any other season that we come into, it's what you make it. And actually, it's my favorite season of the year. For one, it's beginning to cool down, and two, it's a season of transition. It means it's a season of change. And within change, there's balance. And the balance that can be found is the balance between light and dark. And for a very long time, I actually thought that during this time of the year, the days were getting shorter and the nights were getting longer. And I know everyone out there probably is saying that's exactly what's happening. And for the longest time, I believed that's what it was too, but it's actually quite the opposite. The days and the nights are actually the same. It feels like our days are getting shorter and our nights are getting longer because of us falling back those 2 hours, but it's actually the same. I never really understood that till I got older, but the time difference, the 2 hours, that's what makes it seem like, of course, it is getting darker sooner, but it's because of those 2 hours that we fall back on because, we were already on a Pacific time for the spring and the summer, and now here we are readjusting it again to fall back, and it's to make us have shorter days and longer nights. And during this time of the year, I always like to look at it like it's a season of rebirth. And I know it's usually the spring that we associate with the rebirth, and the spring is of rebirth. But I also like to look at the fall equinox in the same light because just as in the spring, we're starting fresh, everything is blooming, it's just everything is just being reborn. Well, the fall equinox is the same. It may not be flowers blooming, it may not be fruit trees bearing fruit. The leaves are starting to turn colors and they're starting to fall, and the temperatures are dropping and things of that nature, but it's still a season of rebirth because it's our rebirth. It's not the rebirth of, you know, Mother Nature or the rebirth of the creatures, the animals, around us. This is our rebirth. And, as we usher in this new season, this is our rebirth. This is our rebirth to, connect with Mother Earth. This is our rebirth to ground, to do more grounding work, because during this time, everything has started to slow down a bit. Everything is, slowing down, getting ready for the winter. And as things start to slow down, this is the perfect time to take for yourself. This is a very good time to, basically reconnect with yourself. This is a good time to actually do shadow work. If you have, childhood trauma that you have just, bottled up and tried to sweep under the rug, but it still keeps, bubbling back up, and you just have had such a hard time in life dealing with it, you dwell on it, these things, they're just like these memories that just keep coming back, they're like, I guess you would say, almost like a nightmare. It's something that you want to forget about, but you can't because it's still there. No matter how deep you bury it, it always resurfaces. And believe me, you're not alone. We all have those nightmarish things that we've had to deal with in life. It may have been from our childhood, it could have been something traumatic that happened to us, as adults. But believe you and me, we all have those things that we've had to deal with in life that were, painful. And if we weren't bothered by those things, if we didn't have, a hard time dealing with them, we wouldn't be human. And it took me a while to understand this. And actually, I was lucky enough to have a good friend to help me. But, if you didn't feel things, if you didn't associate, this heartache with pain, you wouldn't be a human, because as human beings, we have feelings, we have a heart, and we feel things, we feel physical pain, of course, but emotional pain, I think sometimes is the worst pain of all, because, physical pain, eventually it's going to heal. And, when something heals physically, we tend to forget about that pain. But when we have a emotional scar, it's always there, and it's always going to get triggered when you least expect it, and it's going to cause you to act in such a way that, it's just unpredictable. And, I think that this time of year, the fall equinox, this is the perfect time to try to address those things. If you have traumatic experiences that you just keep burying deeper and deeper and deeper within you, this is a good time to do your shadow work, And you've got to have faith in yourself. You've got to believe that you're much stronger than you think you are. We always think that we can't do things on our own, and we always think that, we're not capable, but we are. And, like I always say, and I myself, I'm one to talk, but I'm telling you this because I know from experience, and we tend to forget. We forget just how strong that we are, how strong we are capable of being. And how I remind myself of this is, through my meditation, through my grounding, and sometimes when I do energy work, I will do energy work, on myself, with myself. And I've explained this to you before in a previous video, but I simply sit or stand in front of the mirror, and I'm connecting with myself, I'm, going and, just diving in deep within, within my heart, and this is something that we can't expect anyone else to do for us. This is something we have to do ourselves. But the one good thing about this is the goddess is always there with us. She never ever abandons us. She's not like a earthly mother or a a human mother, she's a spiritual mother, and she's always with us. She's within everything, and everything is within her. And we are an extension of her. So we're never alone. She's always with us. And whenever I think of this time of the year, this is actually, like I said, my favorite time of the year. And it is because, it's cooling down and, it's slowing down. But this time of the year is, when I do find my balance. And this is the time of the year that is about transition. And, this time of the year is, like I said, a great time to reconnect with yourself. Of all the times of the year, like spring is about rebirth. We're trying to, those that are starting new, those that are beginning, we're there for them. And then the summer's when everything's just, you know, going strong. And then the winter's when it all just kind of like basically, stops. And that's when the dark period of the seasons is during the winter. And that's more or less like when everything has come to just stop, everything is rest. And so what do we have left? We have the fall equinox, and this is the time that we need to focus on ourselves. This is the time that you can do shadow work. This is the time that you can do grounding work. This is the time that you can do protection work. And all of these things that you are doing, all of this work that you are doing, is our work to help you to connect with yourself. This is our work that you can do to help you find a healthy balance between the light and the dark. This is your transitional period. And that's why I always say, I love the fall. Don't get me wrong, I get these moments during the fall season because of the veil being thin where sometimes I get panicky, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. It's just I'm very sensitive to energy, and during this time of the year, there is a lot of energy among us, but I just have to find another way to focus, my energy. So as long as I'm staying in control of me and I'm focusing my energy, all this other energy that's around me, that's just it. It's there, it's around me, but I'm just going to keep the course, and I'm going to focus on me. And that's the thing about this time of the year. People tend to forget that during this time of the year, this is when we need to embrace the present. You know, of course, you want to plan for the future, and, you know, as humans, we tend to, think about the past, but the past is the past. There's no need in dwelling on the past because it's exactly that. It's the past. And you know, we're not magicians to the extent to where we can go and change the past. All we can do is focus on the present, embrace the present. We can do things in hopes of, making our future better, but the only way to do that is to embrace the present. And that's why I always say that this time of the year is the greatest time, the best season when you want to do work on yourself. This is the time for it. This is the time to do protection work. And I always say, do that first of all, because, there is a lot of energies among us because of the veil being thin. So do protection work. Before you do anything else, do protection work. And as you're, doing your shadow work, and as you're, connecting with the earth, as you're connecting with yourself, take time in between everything that you do to ground. Grounding is so important because, like I explained last time, when you ground, what you are doing is you're letting the earth, you're letting nature, however you decide to ground. And I suggest just the simplest way, the way that everyone knows of, and that's going outside and pulling your shoes off and placing your bare feet on the ground. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're rooting your feet to the earth. And when you do that, simply imagine that your feet are roots and you're placing them in the earth. And once there's roots in the soil, when the tree's roots are in the earth, what happens? Those roots pull the water from the tree, and those roots continue to grow. And when those roots grow, they anchor that tree there. And once that tree gets anchored and becomes firm, and the roots have spread out and, have found their way and they're holding on strong, then that tree can grow and it can just grow and it can spread and it can do its thing. So therefore, we're like that tree. We need to ground. We need to get our roots in the earth in order to have our growth, our personal growth. And that's why I say when you're doing shadow work and when you're trying to do work on yourself, when you're trying to find your balance between light and dark, you have to do that. You have to embrace the present. You have to continually go back and ground, because if you don't ground, you're just going to steady, you're going to attract, you're going to allow negativity to cling to you. It's going to eventually just go within you, and you're just going to be nothing but a void of negative energy. And, how can you ever evolve? How can you ever grow? How can you ever, you know, be the best you when you're simply filled with nothing but negativity? That's why we have to continually ground. And if you don't care to ground that way, go sit by a stream and stick your feet in the stream, or sit by a stream and, put your hands in the stream. Go pick some flowers. You know, you hear people joking and saying, hippies are tree huggers. Well, hippies are smart because those tree huggers are grounding and they're getting rid of that negativity from within them. And in doing so, they're healing, they're growing, they're nurturing themselves, they're working on themselves. And, that's what this time of year is about. And something I like to do during this time of the year that really helps me to connect with Earth and to connect with myself is I always prepare an outside altar this time of the year. You can, put a table outside. You can simply find a little section on a rock. You can, just have you a section on the ground. You could take a cardboard box and flip it upside down and sit it on your back porch. It doesn't have to be nothing elaborate. I always say that. It's just a spot, this your spot. And you go out there, and when you go there, you can work. You can do spell work. You can meditate. You can leave offerings. You can call to your ancestors. That is your workspace. And that is your workspace for this season, for this time of the year. Because this is the time when, the summer has, you know, left us and the winter's not here. So this is the time that you would want to be in nature work, and this is the time that you want to work on yourself, because when you're in nature, you're grounding and you're growing, and you're healing and you're learning and you're growing, and all of those things will lead to you evolving. And once you do that, you're gonna find happiness, you're gonna find love, and then in the midst of all of that, you're gonna find yourself. And all I want for all of us is to to grow, to evolve, and to find happiness and love. And I hope something I said resonated with someone out there. I really struggled today, and I really truly believe it's just from all the energies in the air. And like I said, I know this video was kind of bumbled, but I'll be back next week, and hopefully I'll be better. And until then, if you believe, you will receive. Much love, you guys. Bye.